watching the game. So I woke up very early. The game was 6:30 in the morning. So I missed like the first 10 minutes. But then I gotta tell you something. Spurs under Thomas Frank, what are they gonna be? And that's what Spurs fans need to like stop portraying your club higher than what they actually are. You are the steady Eddie of this league. You aren't playing exciting football and you aren't conceding too many chances. The stats say that. In the game, it says this. You have a lot of quality. However, Terry, I'm gonna ask you a question, and I think I'm gonna answer it myself. Thomas Frank is a good manager, right? And then I want to hear your opinion about this. But the quality that they added in this transfer window and the quality they have on the pitch, they should be creating more chances. They should be dominating the games more. And I'm not saying Ange Postecoglou high line, halfway line, but I think they should have more control. When you starting 11, when you have the starting forward as Xavi Simons, Matthias Tel, who plays for Bayern Munich, and you still have Richarlison, there are players coming on, and you have Kudus, and you have Palinia, and you have Bentancur, you should demand more control. Like, I thought it was a frantic game at the end, especially the last, like, after they scored. And I think they are resilient. They stop the opposition from creating some chances. But I think they need more quality up top. They don't create enough chances for me. Like, yes, the 2 goals were very good. Deflection, yes, but the attack was very good. The run from Mohamed Kudus was very good. The run from Till was very good. I know that you said that Spurs fans should be in like that Disneyland with how they are, lost only 1 game.
Cloud cuckoo land. They should be very, very happy, yes.
Yes, but I think the quality, Thomas Frank is a good manager. It's still early to judge him. But I want you to imagine if this Spurs squad was with a top manager. Like, I mean a top manager. Not Ange, not Pochettino, like a top manager.
Okay, right? So the way I'll answer it is this. So, yes, if you give this squad to a Pep Guardiola, would they play better football? If you gave this squad to a Diego Simeone, would they play better football than Thomas Frank has them playing that isn't kamikaze like? And yes, the problem with that theory is that Spurs couldn't attract those managers, so it becomes a sort of a futile point in many ways. Thomas Frank is a Spurs level manager at this particular juncture in Spurs' journey. And I think he is perfect for them. I think Thomas Frank over the next 2 to 3 years will do a phenomenal job at Tottenham as long as they keep building the squad out, add more and more quality to it. Thomas Frank will get them to a point where what we might actually say is they might need to go to somebody of that higher level, and hopefully then, from a Spurs perspective, they'll be established back in the Champions League. They're a team that looks like it's ready to go to that next level. Spurs, for me, it's always a little bit, they want it before they've got it. They're not ready to let it. If you ever made a trifle, right, you've got to let your trifle set before you eat it. Spurs are always eating their trifle before it's set and it goes runny and gushy and it ain't right. They need to let it set. And I think Thomas Frank, and by the way, they were at that point when Poch had to go. But instead of continuing that journey, they went in a new one and they started again and built this kind of pragmatic squad and then decided in Daniel Levy's stupid wisdom to go, let's go for one of the most outright attacking managers in the world. You've seen you've done it. Forest did the same thing, by the way. That's why they won a fucking game in 6. Like I told everyone, the squad wasn't built for it. So I do get your point. The football today wasn't amazing, although I did think they had a good first half, Spurs. But I look at it as this. I think he's getting the optimum best thus far out of this squad. Second in the league, won 1 and drawn 1 in the Champions League, unbeaten in 7 games. I'm not saying Spurs fans should never ask for more than this. I'm saying right now, they should be over the moon, personally. Kate, your team, your club, important victory today. I wanted to ask you first before the game about Mohamed Kudus, a brilliant goal and another top performance from him. And I love him even more now because he featured me in his documentary. So they didn't pay me any royalties for it. I only found out because my friend sent it to me. But I'm officially in the Mohamed Kudus documentary. So thank you, Mohamed, for recognizing me. Probably his team. Probably has no idea who I am, but there we go. But Kate, he was great today.
He's been a revelation, I think, since he's come to Spurs. I always think that he shows just how weak we are on the other side. Although I thought Odebert did all right today, best he's done for a while. I think he's getting that run in the team where we're sort of seeing what he's made of. But yeah, I mean, Kudus is another level to a lot of our players. I thought he took his goal really well. I did a pump up show before the game and said that I really don't go there again. Really want Kudus and
who was on that show with you? So who was on that show with you?
Me and Chang. Jimbo's got man flu, so he wasn't there.
You and Chang at a pump up before the game.
We did. We did, yeah. We're like that in the Spurs community. What can I say?
I've heard there's a lot of I've heard there's a lot of bowls and car keys. That's all I heard.
I said, I'd love to see Kudus score. I'd love to see Terrace score. They both scored today. Leeds are good. Do you know what? I think they're a decent team. I don't see Leeds going down. I think they've got the experience there. They're strong. They just lack a bit of quality up front, I think. But look, I can't be any happier than I am right now. We're playing not the best, prettiest football in the world, but we're not losing games, and we're sitting second in the table. And you'll be amazed at the amount of Spurs fans that still want Thomas Frank out. It's baffling.
You have the same points as the mighty Bournemouth. It's the same points as the mighty Bournemouth now. Currently.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I hear you. Like, there's people that say Frank out, we want better. Maybe I'm like, yeah, maybe the Spurs team can do better than this. But 14 points out of 7 games, out of 21 points, that's not bad. That's not a bad start.
Especially when you consider where we was last year.
Yeah, of course, but the squad doesn't reflect you being 17th.
Yeah, see what's going on with Thomas Frank. It's why when I hear United fans go, I just want to be more competitive in games and harder to beat, and we'll be fixed and I'll be happy. I'm not saying that individual saying it, and that could be any one person, isn't telling the truth. But most of the outers, and I'm talking about the vehement outers who don't care about any of the good parts of games, don't blame it on the play. It's all the manager. I also know if the new guy comes in and we're winning, but it isn't football that's making the media get their boy out and go, oh my God, it's the best thing ever. Pup. We also know they'll be the first fans to turn, and you're seeing it in the Spurs fan base. So as soon as you guys draw, they'll be the first guys to go on about the style and the way you play. And I just think they're pushing for something that Spurs are just not in that space. So I don't even have Man United are. I keep saying it. Like I'm excited about the idea of a Xavi coming in, but I also think, do we really have the technical ability and physical ability to play that way? We might get even worse potentially. But no, back to Spurs. I agree with you. I think the fans calling Thomas Frank out, I just think there's an element of performatism about it. I don't understand what they're expecting. It's sort of weird for me. It's sort of weird for me.
At the end of the day, we're not playing the most prettiest football. I mean, the game against Bodo midweek, the game against Wolves, the game against Bournemouth, we were terrible. But I just don't want to be losing football matches. And I think the performances will come. I mean, I think Xavi Simons is, he's got to gel himself into the team. So, look, I'm happy to watch some crap games of football if we're still getting points. It's as easy as that. At the minute, I'll take it, and the performances will come.
Well, you get a lot of this talk nowadays about sustainability. And yeah, there's been a couple of games recently, the Bodo Glimt game. Can you play that poorly and get draws and get victories on a regular basis? No. But actually, over the 9-10 games you've played, 11, including the League Cup, over the 11 games you've played this season, I only think there's 2, maybe 3 you could put into that category. You could put the Bournemouth game, the Bodo Glimt game, maybe the Wolves game. But the rest of them, I feel like you've been the better team. You've controlled. Like the second half just now wasn't spectacular, but you just controlled it and you saw it through. There was no real threat. And you guys have still got players to come. And what's also happened in the footballing world, because of Arsenal, it's not Arsenal's fault, it's their haters' fault. Injuries, no one wants to talk about injuries anymore. But when you get the Kulusevskis back, when you get your Solanke's back, and there's other names I'm forgetting about as well that are missing, you add those 2 or 3 bits of extra quality. And I do think, and if you're in a good position, if you're sitting in the top 4, top 5 come January, it might be an idea to explore the market and look at the left wing, because I do think, like you've said, there's still a bit of a weakness out there compared to the right-hand side. But who knows, by then you might have Kulusevski and Kudus in your team rotating and playing either side and looking good. And I think Spurs are in a really, really comfortable space. And the one thing I'd say to Spurs fans is this: your job isn't to entertain rivals. Your job is to win points, try and win football matches, and be as high up in that table as possible. And you were really entertaining under Big Ange. And I know some will say, but it got him a trophy, and it did. But look where it got you in the league. It got you 1 or 2 games away from relegation. And you need to be very mindful, because your squad's good. But I still think after those first 3 or 4 games again, there was like an overrated nature that came back in, if that made sense. Of even in the chat today, people saying they reckon it's top 3 maybe in the league. It's like, come on, let's be. Yeah, I know it's, and you've always been a level-headed Spurs fan, to be fair. I wanted to ask you as well about your fullback situation, because Jed Spence was playing very well. He kind of seems to be out of the team a little bit at the minute. Who for you should be the fullbacks in your team when fit? Who should be the starting fullbacks for your side, in your opinion?
Look, I really like Jed Spence, but his form has dropped a little bit since he got his England call up. But I think Porro is always going to start. And I think that the beauty of Spence is he can play either side. So it kind of makes sense to start with Porro and Udogie. And then if either one tires or gets injured, you can bring Spence on and he comes in. I thought Destiny Udogie was very good today. I thought he did his job really well. But it's different folks for different strokes, or whatever the saying is. Different strokes for different folks. Some games, Spence is better, perhaps more defensively, whereas Porro's really good at going forward. So I think the fact that we've got an option there is good. But like I say, I always think it's better if they're both fit to start Porro and Udogie, because then Spence can come on for either, because he can play either side. So it's a nice problem to have.
No, I agree. I think it's nice to have that kind of strength in depth, as you say. And if one does well, one doesn't. But this comment here from became a City fan yesterday. He says, any Spurs fan watching that thinks this type of football is going to get you anywhere, you are a foolish person. What do you make of comments like that? So I'm a rival fan. He's obviously a City fan. What do you make of comments like that? Do you think they're just rage baiting, or do you think there's actually some, because I suppose that's what the Spurs fans that want him out are kind of saying on I haven't watched any of their shows, but I bet on their podcast that's what it's about, is unsustainability. We'll never get anywhere, we've got to play better ball. Do you think that kind of talk is more about enraging people as opposed to making a sensible argument?
Well, first of all, I don't know, when he says going to get you anywhere, well, what does that mean? I don't think it's going to win us the league, and I don't think it's going to get us top 4, because I think there's 4 teams that are clearly better than we are. So that is a bit vague for me. But look, Thomas Frank's only been there still a matter of weeks, and I think he's still just getting used to the squad that he's got. He's still trying to find what his best 11 is. There's still players to come back. For instance, Kulusevski and Solanke, who I think we're missing massively. There's still players that have got gel together, like Simons. So, look, we could, using Bodo for an example, if we play like that against a bigger Champions League team, we're going to get walloped. You know, it's only that it was a lesser Champions League team. But I just think that's a really vague statement, and I don't really get why City fans really that bothered.
Well, until people start treating Spurs as not the Arsenals, not the Liverpools, not the Man Cities, like they don't have to win the league, they don't have to be up there, people are going to get these comments, with all due respect. Like, Spurs, this is not the Pochettino Spurs with the Champions League finalists, challenge. This is not. It's a Spurs that has come from the 17th place. And yeah, maybe they will play better football with another manager, but that might lose more games and you might be lower on the table. Would that make you more happy if you're like a Spurs fan? I don't think so. Maybe for the long term, what is the long term is going to be like? Win the league? I don't think Spurs will win the league in my lifetime. I don't think it will happen, right? So, but in my lifetime, I don't think they're going to win the league. They might win a Europa League, a cup here and there. But that is, if they make top 4 consistently, that is what they are. And if Thomas Frank is going to do this and get them Champions League, it's fine. I don't know why you're laughing. I don't think you're going to win the league in my lifetime. I haven't seen you win the league in my lifetime. And I'm an older person, and you're only won 2 league titles. Sunderland won more than you. And there's no disrespect. You make a lot of money. But I don't think the money will make you win the league. I don't think you have. As a club, it's very hard.
Around.
I think it depends if we get an actual buyout. If we get a big buyout,
that's
happen
very true.
at the club, then
only from an Arab person. Only from an Arab person. If you get if you got bought from an investment fund or like a businessman, like American or something like this, I don't think they invest to the point that makes you win the league. I think it became more of same profit and stuff like this.
Yeah. Well, winning the league is the least of our worries at the minute. I was worried about staying up last year. Now I just want to.
But this is also it. I think when people make those comments, it's like an elitist comment because that's what City. I saw LB earlier on in the season on the Terrace. Love LB to bits. Been on our show a long time. Made this kind of comment, which was essentially along the lines of, "I'm not looking forward to this season because we can't win it." Which he's entitled to think and feel. There's nothing wrong with thinking and feeling that way per se. But what I thought was interesting is that's coming from a man who picked to support City when City were maybe not even a Premier League team. I don't quite know his exact age, but they definitely got relegated in his lifetime and were rubbish. But yet City fans still turned up and supported their team each season. Sometimes when you're winning and you're tasting life at that end, you almost lose perspective on the greater pyramid of football. And yes, in the greater pyramid, you want to get to the top and you want to win those trophies. But everybody's doing this thing now in the game where we treat clubs in a very monolithic way, like we're all the same and we've all got the same start point. And Spurs, although they've got the revenues, I think you went backwards over the last 4 or 5 years. And yes, you want to, and that's why winning trophies doesn't always indicate growth or progression. United have won 2 trophies in the last 3 years, but we've progressively got worse. We were, a clearance off the line from Rasmus from taking a game to extra time. Like, we could have scored that goal and then gone on to win it. That wouldn't have made Man United any better winning that trophy last year, whether you guys won it or not. And people kind of ignore that when it comes to the Tottenham conversation. You've kind of got to not rebuild the club. You've got to rebuild your squad again. And that is going to take some time because you've gone from one model to another. Now you're going back again. But yeah, I think you guys will be fine. Look, thank you for coming on. A super chat here says Spurs are missing players and scored the second most. Again, you've got to look at that. I didn't even see that stat, but yeah. 13
do you know that
scored.
Spurs only the 17th in chances missed, right? Like they don't miss chances.
So efficiency, which is
Thomas
just
Frank.
something about
Thomas Frank.
Thomas Frank. It's very Thomas Frank, and it's just something I think people are just being are just wrong about when they're talking about this thing. But look, I want to.